Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Chrysan. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Today, on this Monday morning edition of Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBears, TK joins us from Court Street Cafe, just over the bridge in Port Allen, Louisiana. If you haven't been, less than 5 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge, just over the bridge, first right, second light, hang a right, there it is. So you're at Court Street Cafe. Real close, especially if you work downtown, live downtown. It's closer going there than it is to go to College Drive and go get lunch or dinner or whatever. We are, of course, I'm at an undisclosed location presented by Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, November 17th, 18th. We got the party on the 17th from 6 to 9. 18th, golf, 10 a.m., celebrity golf tournament in Baton Rouge at LeBears Casino and University Club Golf Course. Get all the information online at lasportshall.com. And we're presented by LeBears Casino, where LeBears was the place to be to watch the LSU game for Saturday night. Huge crowd, LSU, Texas A&M over at LeBears. Folks were excited, at least for the first half. First time in 20 years, TK, the Tigers blow a double-digit lead at halftime and lose the game. Time in over 20 years that's happened. I think Alabama and LSU both having a lot of firsts this year as things kind of start to settle in, and both teams aren't as good as they had hoped, and other programs are catching up and all that kind of stuff. New Orleans Saints are a disaster. They lose six straight. Wasn't even close against a mediocre Chargers team. The Saints are just an absolute disaster. I said this 2 weeks ago. I think the Saints, maybe don't win another game the rest of the year, maybe one, and I'm okay with that. Have the first pick, have the second pick in the draft, and maybe you can either trade that and get a bunch of things, or possibly quarterback, your franchise quarterback of the future. Unbelievable play, the Hail Mary by Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. They win again. We'll break that down. The Yankees are up 2-0 in the World Series, going home. It's been exciting first two games in that one. The Pels, they lost last night. They're now 2-1 through their first three games of the opening week in the NBA. And some big games to watch this week. The Cajuns at home, the Raging Cajuns, on the road against Texas State. They find themselves a dog on the road at Texas State and San Marcos on Tuesday. That's a nationally televised game. And then Tulane is on the road at Charlotte. Charlotte has been playing better of late. They were hot garbage early on. They're playing better of late, so it'll be a little bit more of a challenge. Tulane playing really well on the road. That'll be on Thursday. A couple of Louisiana teams to watch, especially big since LSU's off this week. So no college football for the Tigers. They get ready to try to regroup and figure it out November 9th. Let's start with the LSU game on Saturday, Tommy. What an unbelievable two halves. Tigers are up 17-7, should have been up more, dominated the first half, left point of the field. And then all of a sudden, a nightmare second half that is a nightmare not just for this game, but it could potentially be a nightmare for the remainder of the season.
Well, Ronnie, couple things that surprised me, they couldn't run the ball. Okay, the play calling was bad all night, but uh, 20 times they handed the ball off up the middle and they netted like 2 yards. Okay, after that sixth or seventh time when you get stuffed, maybe you don't call that no more. I don't know. I'm not a coach. It's easy for me to comment Monday morning, but I mean that was just unbelievable. And then of course the quarterback changed by A&M, and an LSU player comes out and says we weren't prepared for that. Oh man, come on now. I get it. You're not going to spend a lot of time thinking the backup's coming in, but the coaches have to have a plan that if he comes in, you're immediately on the sidelines telling the guys what's up. It was a collapse. That word got used a lot with the LSU's performance going down the stretch. Nussmeier, we talked Saturday morning out at the casino on a Nussmeier first round pick. Should he come back? He's got to come back. I mean, he's got a lot of upside, a lot of potential, but the way he played the other night left a lot to be desired. Not just the picks. I ain't got the biggest problem in the world with guys throwing picks, but just the other balls that he missed and he can't move. And I mean, I don't know. It was a bad night for LSU. A&M now on top in the SEC. Season's not over for LSU. It's not done, but you got a week off and you got Alabama coming to Baton Rouge. So A lot still in front of the Tigers, but there's a lot of things from special teams to figure out a way to run the football. And I know they lost Dellinger, a lineman, so that probably affected. And that's another reason don't hand it off right behind Dellinger. He's not out there. But we can sit here Monday and figure it all out. But A&M deserved to win that game. All right, Ronnie, there he is. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Definitely the better team in the second half. Couple thoughts. One is a lot of ways looked a lot. I don't. You mentioned the play calling. USC game was very. LSU should have had scored more than they were. Halftime have had a big lead. They didn't. And then in the second half, I thought the play calling got conservative, and the running of the football with the non-creative way. You're basically running an RPO handoff up the middle with no threat at all. Bullet. Nor should he. He looks like he's gotten slower, or he has got no moves. I mean, they talk about him having the same 40 time as Joe Burrow. I don't believe it. And maybe they did at one point in their life, and maybe he's can run straight north and south. But if he's got to take a step left or right, he is slow as molasses. He's a typical slow pocket quarterback. But the play, the offensive line, when it's predictable running the football, is not what we thought they were, right? I mean, we thought going into the season we had 2 first-round picks and one of the best offensive linemen in the country, and we're going to just hand the ball off and just run the rock and play action all year long, and that just is not the case. And it showed itself against a very good defensive line in Texas A&M. I agree with you, Tommy. It just seemed like we ran, this is Les Miles' version of the toss pitch, like toss sweep, type thing, just over and over again, hitting the same thing. The other thing is that I am super nervous because the field goal unit is a disaster right now, and those things don't usually get fixed. They might get a little better, but they usually don't get fixed because all 3 of those positions, the snapper, the holder, and the kicker, are so mental. Once you start to lack confidence, once you start to question yourself, once you start to feel the nerves, I mean, all it takes is a little bobble, just a little timing off. And right now, if it's not the snap, it's the hold. And if it's not the snap or the hold, it's the kick. I mean, it's a disaster. And that's a shame because just a week ago, Ramos was the, player of the week, MVP of the offense, and then all of a sudden now they are in such a pickle that these things, it's a good thing they have a week off to try to get it worked out. They may have to look at another holder, I feel like, because this isn't the first game. Remember the old days? It was so important for the holder to get the laces spun so that they're facing the goalpost. And it seems like nowadays these holders don't spin the ball anymore. They catch it and they put it down. They might turn a little, but like the laces are not getting turned a lot. I mean, Ramos has made up for it a number of times. If you went back and looked at every kick he's had this year, when he hasn't kicked the ball well, it's because the laces aren't turned properly. They're to the side, and they were done. It was that way at least twice this past week, and that's on the holder. But anyway, that's a disaster. And then Nussmeier. Let's talk about him for a minute. On our show on Saturday on Sports Shorts Radio, 10 to noon on ESPN Radio, we talked about how all of so many of the and the NFL draft analysts have him going potentially in the first round. And we discussed whether or not he should come back or not. And I think we all agree he should come back. But if you're going to be drafted in the first round, and we know that quarterbacks are over evaluated in the NFL. Everybody's so desperate to try the next guy, that guys that probably should be second, third round picks get drafted in the first round because quarterbacks are the key to everyone's success. And you're just always trying to find the next Tom Brady, the next Mahomes, whatever. And we overlooked the fact that he threw 44% completion rate in the Ole Miss game because he made 2 big throws down the stretch, to win the game on the final drive against Ole Miss. And nowadays, Tommy, if you don't complete 60% of your passes in college or pro, you're not a good quarterback. And Nussmeier completed 44%. He was same thing again today, 500 or below. I don't know what his percentage was. It was below 50% for this game. And he does not throw it away. He does not live to play another play. He doesn't throw it in the ground when it's not there. He doesn't throw it out of bounds when it's not there. He is going to force it. He's not mobile. He's somewhat mobile, but he's definitely not a running threat, and he's not mobile in 2024 standards. And when he gets frustrated, he just throws it up. And that's a terrible trait. You have got to take care of the football as a quarterback. Teams that win or teams that in the turnover column don't have any. More than that, that statistic is the most important of any out there. And he doesn't do that at this phase in his career. LSU's got no margin for error time. They got to win all 4 games they play in the month of November. Alabama at home, Florida on the road, Vandy and Oklahoma at home. They have got to win those games if they want to sneak in there and be a playoff team. And I believe if they do win 4 in a row, they will be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to do 4 in a row because I think either Alabama or Florida on the road will catch them. But if they win 4 in a row, they will be in the playoffs, in my opinion.
I agree with you. And of course, some of that will depend on what other people do, but got to win 4 in a row. The old cliche, take them one at a time. You got an open date, then you got Alabama coming to town. We all know that story. So it's got to happen. Fix the special team thing or try to improve it. I'm like you. It's hard to fix that when you're at the end of October, but you got to do that. You got to figure out how to run the football. As Craig made the comment, toss dive. I mean, that doesn't work. Okay, that's not what we have in today's world of college football. And you just can't go inside where there's like a ton of humanity. And is it going to pop once a game? Maybe, possibly. We've all seen the running back go up the middle, 50 yards for a touchdown. But that's like 1 out of 30, 1 out of 40 times that's going to happen. And especially when they keep stopping it and you keep trying it again. That was a little confusing to me. And then you're right. Nussmeier, you got to throw it away, put it in row 2, throw it in the ground, do something. And again, it's easy for us to comment on Monday. A&M's a good football team. They're in first place in the SEC. They're by themselves, first place in the SEC. So it's not like you were playing, a team like Auburn that can't do much of anything. Although they won.
This is a shift in power, man. If you look, you got A&M and Texas up at the top of the SEC, and as well they should be. I mean, we've been kind of waiting for A&M and Texas to figure it out. They got more money than everybody else. They got as good of facilities as anybody. They got all the money now in the new NIL world where it's completely legal to give it away. They got more than everybody else. And over time, with more money comes the best coaches, the best facilities, and the best players. At least on paper, you're going to get the high recruits. And so it's just a matter of time before this becomes the norm and the consistency between those two schools. You just can't you just can't overcompensate when somebody's got twice as much money as you do on a salary cap. It's like the Yankees and the Royals. Yeah, the Royals can have a nice year and they can pop up and they can be relevant and they can have a nice team and surprise. But over a 10-year period, the Yankees are going to win a lot more than the Royals are. And the Yankees are going to go to the postseason a lot more than the Royals are. I'm not saying LSU's the Royals, but I'm saying that A&M and Texas are the Yankees when it comes to payroll. And, where LSU is going to be and land for the next 10 years, they're not going to be the Royals, probably one of the lower ones, but they're surely not going to be the Yankees or the Dodgers. So they're going to be somewhere in the middle. And you got to believe that those two programs with that amount of money are going to be the daddies of the SEC over the long haul. Let's talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints just for a minute. I didn't watch much of the game. I watched it. I kept it with it on my phone. I'll tell you why, Tommy. I ended up going to Taylor Swift last night. I'll tell you about that in a second. The New Orleans Saints, I'm okay with it. I'm not even upset at this point. Kamara played well when he touched the ball. Everything else was the Saints defense hung in there for a while, but offense did nothing to help them, and then a damn broke.
Yeah, well, Saints just inept offensively. Quarterback changed third quarter. It's just not there. Longest losing streak since right the year after Katrina. They've now lost 6 straight. They play at Carolina this Sunday. Okay, they're favored by 6.5 points. Ronnie, I did yesterday what you said on the radio that just bet against the Saints every week. Hold your nose if you have to. I bet on the Chargers -7 yesterday. Obviously got that one correct. But now they're 6.5 point favorite against the Panthers. Bryce Young back to quarterback for the Panthers after Dalton was in a car wreck and got banged up a little bit. He's okay. But so Derek Carr might be back. I don't know. I mean, but the Saints, I'm like you, lose the rest of the games and figure out your quarterback in the future. Or you got to draft somebody, whatever you got to do. But not a good time to be a Saints fan at all, and no reason to think it can get any better. Even if they beat Carolina this week, they're not going to win anything else.
And as bad as the Saints played, they were what was it? Early fourth quarter when
They
Groupie
were within a score. Yeah, they were within a score.
he missed a 43-yard field goal that would have made a one-score game, and then after that, it was like the Saints gave up. Which you kind of, I don't want to say don't blame them. You're getting paid, but like it's just like, are you kidding me? I mean, in a dome, 43-yard field goal from a professional kicker should be like a 95% make. And then Groupie's been up and down this year. Missed some big kicks, short ones. I mean, make the big ones, but then miss the short ones. This franchise's team's a disaster. But as far as this week on the road, if Carr is back, I'd be probably tempted to say the Saints are going to win this game. But if he's not back, I would buy the 0.5 point, and I would take the Panthers +7. I think if Carr doesn't play, take the Panthers +7. If he does play, I wouldn't bet it. But I think the Saints have a legitimate chance to win this game if he doesn't. If Carr is back, because it's the Panthers and because they're just a disaster right now. But hey, Tommy, other than that, it's a coin flip if you don't play.
Well, nobody likes to lose, but when you lose a bunch in a row, I don't care if you're a high school football team. When you lose a bunch in a row, the mindset changes, okay? Some people start pressing. Some people kind of like go through the motions, and that's where the Saints are at. I mean, they're not going to be a playoff team. They might beat Carolina Sunday and might luck up and get a win somewhere else down the road. They got an open date week 12. So I don't know if there'll be a coach change or not. I know you believe it's going to happen, but do it on Black Monday in January when 4 or 5 other coaches are going to get canned. So we'll wait and see. But just bad news for the Saints. They're just a bad football team with a bad coach.
I want to talk first. Just want to talk for a second before we get to the Hail Mary by Jaden Daniels in the World Series. Went to Taylor Swift last night, Tommy, and it was a last minute deal. Wound up going. Wanted to see what all the hula baloo was about. Okay. And I think if you've paid attention to this show, I know a couple months ago I went to Bruno Mars when LSU was in Vegas, and I told you that was like Celine Dion, New Day live at Caesar's Palace 20 years ago, which I saw 3 times. Favorite concert I've ever been to in my life when it comes to spending your own money and going to a show. Bruno Mars would be 1B. Celine 1A, Bruno Mars 1B. Got a new number 1, Tommy.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Ben.
It was spectacular.
Show was that good. And listen, I probably really know 10 to 15 Taylor Swift songs, right? Like, I mean, recognize them. Don't like know every word by anything like that, but like know the songs, can kind of like them. So, half her songs that she probably sang, I knew. And the other half I didn't know. But just everything about it, man. The 70,000 people, the energy, most everybody there singing every word of every song. The light show. I mean, everybody had wristbands matched up to the light show going. I mean, the production was. I mean, they probably spent $10 million on the production. It's at least it's unbelievable. It was the greatest. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen. I mean, it is.
Wow.
It is the greatest show, and it's worth the money. Like, it ain't worth 10 grand, it ain't worth 5, but in this day and age, and people that have not been to concerts are probably blown away. You can't go see anything for less than $100 nowadays. You know what I
No.
mean? Anything meaningful, everything
Or anything major, yeah.
from comedians to concerts, like it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, everything's $100 or more, right? And most anything is $300 to $500 for good, decent seats, for good shows, and all that kind of stuff. Um, and so if it's incredible what was going on, the energy, the vibe. They had 3 shows, the whole city, the takeover in New Orleans over the weekend. It was crazy, but I give her props, man. I give her props. I mean, Tommy, she performed, I think 3 hours, I mean, like, it's just incredible, incredible. All right, let's talk about Jaden Daniels and the Hail Mary, man. When it's your time, it's your time. This guy's magical. If he ain't the rookie of the year now, I don't know. But guy came off of rib injury, game time decision, plays, obviously not 100%, and then they end up winning a game, and that's incredible. And I'm glad for Jaden. I'm glad for the Commanders. Like to see teams that you don't expect anything out of have good years. Gives Saints fans hopes maybe for next year. But what happened before the game and the Bears losing is the story.
Well, I tell you, less than 10% of the Hail Marys work, especially the last play of the game. I take them out of the picture, the last play of the half, okay? But, the play was the play before when they threw a 12-yard out, got out of bounds, okay? That allowed him to be able to reach the goal line. He threw that ball 65 yards in the air, basically flat-footed. And it's just, when the Hail Mary works, everybody talks about it because it's so rare that it works. Just like back in the day when the onside kick had a surprise element to it. When it worked, everybody talked about it. But the Hail Mary worked. It won the game. And, the Bears got to be thinking, what the hell? But the Commanders, it's part of this whole story of Jaden Daniels and the Commanders doing a lot better this year than most anybody would have picked back in August. So it was spectacular. If you're out there and you hadn't seen the highlight yet, go find it. It's something to watch. And the other thing about it, he had like 10 seconds to throw the ball. He sat in the pocket. They just rushed 3, and he moved a little to his right. They had to move back to his left. Then he set his feet and throw it. It was probably a little too much time, but it worked out for the Commanders, and that could be one that gets talked about for a long, long time.
It definitely was too much time. Credit the Bears offensive line. Credit Jaden Daniels. But the story that everybody's talking about is the Bears number 29, Tyreek Stevenson. Most people have watched the video. If you haven't, it's all over social media. Just Google, Bears DB Hail Mary if you haven't seen it. And literally Tyreek Stevenson, 29, who's the player who ended up tipping the ball to the Commanders wide receiver for the touchdown. Remember, what are you supposed to do on a Hail Mary, Tommy, if you're a DB?
Knock it down.
Knock it down.
Don't tip it up because they got a guy in the back. There's a reason that guy was back there looking for the tip. They practice that stuff.
Knock it down. He went up and tipped it, touched it, went up, but he didn't swat it down. He didn't knock it down. And instead he tipped it. Well, but what makes it even worse is that number 29, Tyreek Stevenson, as the play is being snapped, as the ball is being snapped, he is at the 10-yard line, making his way to the goal line, not even looking at the play, taunting the Redskins fans, looking up in the stands, talking trash back to the Redskins fans, literally turns around, the play is happening, ends up getting into the play and being the one that tips the ball instead of knocking it down. So it shows you karma. It shows you karma is a real living, breathing lady, and it got him. And it's the most unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it in sports. The most unbelievable. It'd be like a goalie in soccer talking trash to the people behind the goal, like, yeah, suck it, y'all lose, and then turn around and here comes the ball and it goes by him and they lose the game. Like, that's exactly what happened. And you got video. It's incredible. But happy for Jaden Daniels. The Commanders are the shocking story of the NFL through the first half of the season. He's the rookie of the year through the first half of the season. And, oh, by the way, the Chiefs just keep rolling along. It ain't pretty, but the Chiefs find themselves just undefeated. Travis Kelce, made sense that I was at Taylor Swift. Huge day, 10 catches and a touchdown for Travis Kelce, leading receiver for the Chiefs, and then they handle taking care of business. They don't cover, but they win by a touchdown over the Raiders on the road.
Well, they hadn't lost since Christmas Day last year, so that's 13 in a row. Trying to get to an unprecedented three straight trips to the Super Bowl, and of course, we'll try to win three. That defensive back for the Bears did apologize late last night for his theatrics and his antics, but that didn't change anything.
Lastly, talk about the World Series first two games. I know you've been all over it, watching it. The Yankees themselves up 2-0. The games have been
No,
very.
Dodgers are up 2-0.
I'm sorry. Wrong verbiage. Dodgers up 2-0. What's unbelievable to me is we talk, the Freddie Freeman grand slam, first time walk-off grand slam in World Series history and all that to win a game. But the fact that, did you see this, Tommy? Kirk Gibson's home run and Freddie Freeman's home run both happened at the exact same time, 8:36 or 8:37 on the clock. I mean, how's that happen? It's unbelievable.
Well, baseball's a game of numbers, and that's some more numbers for you. That's mind-boggling. But no, they go back to New York tonight. Walker Buehler for the Dodgers, Clark Schmidt for the Yankees. Two big, hard-throwing right-handers. Buehler's a Vanderbilt guy. So, obviously, Yankees are big favorites tonight. Aaron Judge couldn't hit me or you right now. I mean, he is just struggling big time. Volpe can't get a hit anymore. It's really do or die tonight for the Yankees. They'll be back home. Aaron Boone comes out and says, "Hey, we need our fans to get into this game." They're pulling out everything they possibly can now because they know they go down 3-0. Even though game 4 and 5 will also be in New York tomorrow and Wednesday, you don't see the Dodgers the way they're playing, losing 4 straight, especially with 2 of them back at home. But it'll be game 3 tonight. I'll be checking it out, and we'll see what happens. But Freddie Freeman's been the story of the World Series. Hit another home run in game 2, by the way.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Tommy, I know you don't go to nightclubs and all that, but you've seen on social media, you don't go to supper club or anything like that, Baton Rouge, but you've seen in social media, like when it's people's birthdays or big groups, they bring out the lighted up sign with the sparklers and the girls dancing and all that stuff. You can buy that, package or whatever, and they do them at the nightclubs in Vegas and everything. Well, they had some Yankee players at a nightclub the other, in the one night or something, and some Yankee fans, and they sent over some other Dodger fans sent over a big sign that said Yankees, Jaron Judge sucks, and like sent it over to the table. Pretty funny. Pretty creative. All right, TK, as we mentioned, Cajuns in action tomorrow night. Texas State find themselves a 3-point dog. Tulane will take on Charlotte on Thursday. So some college football to watch. Tell us about Court Street Cafe over in Port Allen as we get out of here.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, Court Street Cafe. Jason and the staff do a super job. Need to check them out. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. They got lunch specials, dinner specials, drink specials. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. We got a nice patio out front in the cooler weather here. I saw some people out there this morning having breakfast, and a couple of guys that regularly listen to Sports Shorts Radio and tell them, say, we're all fired up after hearing us on the radio Saturday. Then Saturday night, boom, But you need to check out Court Street Cafe. Again, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Saturday night is steak night. No LSU game this week. Come get a nice filet or ribeye here at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, just a couple of minutes over the Mississippi River Bridge. All right, we'll be back Wednesday morning, another episode of Sports Shorts Daily. I'll be at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood Wednesday morning. Until then, have a great day, everyone.